From the Blues Hotel Collective, welcome to Blues Moments in Time, where every groove holds a memory and every moment echoes the truth of what came before. Today, we rewind the reel, trace the footsteps, and revisit the chapters that shaped the blues. Here is our host, Kelvin Huggins.
Welcome to Blues Moments in Time, the podcast dedicated to exploring the rich history and cultural significance of blues music. Today, we feature January 8th and tracing how it echoes through battlefields, back rooms, and big stages in blues history. Let's start with the cultural landscape. On a cold January day in 1815, cannons thundered outside New Orleans. American troops under Andrew Jackson faced down the British in what would become known as the Battle of New Orleans. The fight itself was short, but the memory lingered in stories, in fiddles, and eventually in song. Down in the rural South, musicians turned that victory into a tune called the 8th of January. Fiddlers played it across dances, passing it from hand to hand, from porch to juke, until the date itself became a melody. More than a century later, Arkansas schoolteacher Jimmy Driftwood slowed that old tune down, wrote new lyrics, and called it the Battle of New Orleans. Johnny Horton's 1959 recording turned it into a national hit. Now you might say that's a country song, not a blues record, but listen closely. It's Southern storytelling, rooted in the same soil as the blues. A specific date, a local story, a community's pride, wrapped in rhythm and melody. That's the same instinct that led blues singers to write about floods, chain gangs, and crooked sheriffs. January 8th, in that sense, is an early example of how a day on the calendar can become a song, and how a song can become a piece of living history. Now let's turn our attention to the political climate. Fast forward to January 8 in 1964. The cannons are gone, but another kind of battle is underway. President Lyndon B. Johnson steps up to the podium in Washington, D.C. to deliver his State of the Union address. In that speech, he declares an unconditional war on poverty. Johnson talks about Americans living on the outskirts of hope, people shut out by poverty, by colour, or by both. His Great Society agenda will pour money into cities and rural communities, including the black neighbourhoods that gave birth to the blues. For blues musicians, this political moment is complicated. On one hand, the war on poverty promises relief for the same working class folks who filled the clubs on Chicago's South Side and the juke joints of the Mississippi Delta. On the other, those same communities are facing urban renewal, displacement, and the slow grind of structural racism. The blues of the 1960s, electric, amplified, and often weary, carries that tension. So when we mark January 8 on the calendar, we're not just circling a speech, we're circling a turning point in the lives of the people who are the blues. Factory workers, domestic labourers, migrants from the South, all trying to survive in a country that's finally admitting out loud that the poverty and race are national problems. Now, of course, no discussion of blues history would be complete without exploring the music itself. Remember that old fiddle tune, the 8th of January? By the time Johnny Horton cut the Battle of New Orleans in Nashville, the song had travelled a long way, from frontier dance floors to the top of the Billboard charts. It's labelled country, yes, even novelty, but its DNA is pure Southern vernacular music. A strong backbeat, a catchy melody, and a story you can picture in your mind. That same musical ecosystem produced the blues. Fiddle tunes, work songs, spirituals, and ballads all swirled together in the American South. Musicians borrowed melodies, rewrote lyrics, and bent genres without asking permission. A tune about a war in 1815 could sit right next to a blues song about a levee breaking or a lover leaving. January 8th Through that song becomes a reminder that blues doesn't live in a vacuum. It's part of a bigger musical river, flowing through country, folk, and eventually rock and roll. And every year, when fans celebrate the birthday of Elvis Presley on the 8th of January, they're also, whether they know it or not, are celebrating the blues. Elvis grew up in Mississippi and Tennessee, soaking up black blues, gospel, and white country music. When he stepped into Sun Records in 1954, he turned that mix into rockabilly, a sound built on rhythm and blues backbeats and bluesy vocal phrasing. So musically, January the 8th is a crossroads date, a battlefield turned into a fiddle tune turned into a hit record, and a southern kid who carried the blues into the global pop spotlight. January 8th has also marked the beginning of life for some incredible blues-connected musicians. Let's start with a name every serious blues fan should know. Tampa Red, born Hudson Woodbridge, later Hudson Whittaker, on January the 8th in 1903 in Smithfield, Georgia. He lost his parents young and was raised in Tampa, Florida. There he learned guitar from his older brother and from a street musician known as Piccolo Pete, perfecting a slide style that would change the sound of the blues. By the 1920s, Tampa Red had moved on to Chicago and adopted his stage name, a nod to his Tampa upbringing and his light complexion. His big break came when he was hired to accompany the great Ma Rainey. From 1928 onward, he became one of the most recorded blues artists of his era, cutting more 78s than any other blues musician. They called him the Guitar Wizard for a reason. Tampa Red's single-string slide guitar, clean, lyrical, and precise, set the template for Chicago blues guitar. His songs, like It Hurts Me Too, Crying Won't Help You, and Love Her With a Feeling, became standards, reworked by B.B. King, Elmore James, Little Walter, Albert King, and many more. On another January 8 in 1935, a baby named Elvis Aaron Presley was born in a two-room house in Tupelo, Mississippi. He grew up poor, surrounded by gospel in church, country on the radio, and blues in the streets. When his family moved to Memphis, he found himself in a city where black and white musical worlds rubbed shoulders. Beale Street blues, hillbilly bars, and the sanctified churches, all within reach. At Sun Records, producer Sam Phillips wanted to bring African-American music to a wider audience. Elvis became the vehicle, a white singer with a black-influenced sound, fusing blues, country and gospel into something new. His success made rock and roll a global phenomenon, but it also raised hard questions about who gets credit and who gets paid for black musical innovation. Then there's Shirley Bassey, born January 8, 1937 in Tiger Bay, Cardiff, Wales, a tough dockside neighbourhood where poverty and racism were everyday realities. From those streets, she rose to become one of Britain's most beloved vocalists, known for her powerful, sultry voice and her glamorous stage presence. Her phrasing, emotional intensity, and dramatic delivery carry the unmistakable imprint of blues feeling, even when wrapped in orchestral pop. Sadly, January 8th has also been a day of loss, though not in the way you might expect. When we scan the record books for January 8, we don't find a long list of famous blues musicians who died on this date. The deaths that show up tend to be classical composers and other non-blues figures. On paper, it looks like a quiet day in the blues obituary column, but that quiet is deceptive. Many early blues artists lived and died without precise records. Birth dates are guessed at, death dates are sometimes unknown. The absence of big-name blues passings on January the 8th is a reminder of how fragile blues history can be. How many lives went unrecorded, how many stories were never written down. And that's all the time we have for today's episode of Blues Moments in Time. Join us next time as we continue to explore the fascinating history of the blues.